Hello, beautiful people. My name is Jo. Today we are going to be doing the book recommendations tag. I think this is a fun tag. I think it's great. I saw Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings do this video literally a few days ago, and I'm nothing if not a copycat. Hi, Rachel. How are you doing, you beautiful human? Definitely go and check out Rachel's video. I will have it linked down below. But without further ado, let's get into this tag. Question number 1 is a book that you tell people is your favorite. I have to go with the most obvious answer on this one. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, if you watched any of my videos, you've probably heard me talking about Manacled by Senlin Yu. It's a fan fiction. It was my favorite book of 2022. It is a Dramini fan fiction. The main premise is kind of like what if the bad guy won mixed with the Handmaid's Tale. It is not an easy read. It's not easy to get through. It's very heart-wrenching. There's a lot of triggers for it. But I would say that currently, right now, this is my favorite book. This beautiful copy was bound for me by Melbind's Fix over on Instagram. I'll have her Instagram linked down below if you want to go check her out. Question number 2, a book that is your guilty pleasure. I don't like the words guilty pleasure. I don't think anybody really does, but I have a book for this. The Black Dagger Brotherhood series. I've read the first 5 in this series. I'm eager to continue on. This is a series pretty much about this group of warrior vampires who are fighting up against these things called the Lessers. They are kind of like human beings who have given up their soul for immortal power. And in this series, these vampire warriors are finding their mates, and it's just so much fun. Is it formulaic? Yes. Is it quick to read? Yes. Is it peak literature? No, of course it's not. But a lot of the times in these books, there are some darker themes that are explored. There's usually a mystery aspect to them. They're just a lot of fun. They're fast. They're easy, and I love them. I think they're great. Question number 3 is a book that everyone loved, but you didn't. There is one book that I read recently that a lot of my friends really like the series, and I had wanted to read it for a very long time. I finally picked it up recently. I haven't talked about it on my channel at all, but that is Lifeblood by Amara Ray. This is a kind of witches and warlocks, captor-captive, fated mates type of situation. The first couple chapters for me were really info dump heavy, and then when we finally met the hero, I just didn't like him. I didn't like him throughout the entirety of the book. The hero just wasn't my type of hero, and there was a lot of talk about like ownership and things like that that just made me feel a little bit icky. Question number 4 is a book you read the fastest. For this, I'm gonna have to say the first 3 books in the Fated Mates of the Sea Sand series by Ursa Dax. I finished all 3 of these on the same day that I started the book, which I've been in a reading slump for a little while now, and that has kind of been non-existent. These books are alien romance. They're super fast. They're super short. They're just a good time all around. Question number 5 is a book that deserves more hype. For this one, I'm absolutely going to have to go with Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. This is a very cozy fantasy romance. We're following Hala, who is a housekeeper at her great uncle's estate. When her great uncle dies, he pretty much gives all of the money to her. His family is not too happy about that, and they try to marry her off to her cousin. She would rather die than marry her cousin, so she decides to fall on this ancient sword that is in her uncle's house. When she takes it out of the sheath, this man appears, declares himself the guardian of the sword, and he is pretty much tasked with protecting the wielder of the sword. They go on a really great adventure in which they are trying to figure out how to get Hala's inheritance without kind of stepping on the toes of the family. It's humorous, it's fun, there's a lot of banter, it's just a lot of fun, and I definitely think that it deserves more hype than it gets. Question number 6 is a book that is becoming a movie/TV show. This is one thing in the book community that I do not keep up with whatsoever. I have no idea what's coming out. The only real ones that I know of are ACOTAR, as well as the recent Amazon Prime adaptation of Daisy Jones and the Six. I loved Daisy Jones and the Six when I read it a couple of years ago. It was absolutely fucking phenomenal. I have watched every single episode except for the last one of the Amazon Prime series, and I really like it. Obviously, I am super excited for the ACOTAR adaptation, though I am skeptical. I'm skeptical. Let's just say that. Question number 7 is a book that you have reread the most. I think there's only one book that I have just consistently reread and reread and reread, and that is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is book 2 in the ACOTAR series. Everybody knows the ACOTAR series at this point. My copy is beat up. I painted on it. The pages are yellow. This gorgeous lady has been through the ringer. I have read it probably 4, 5, 6 times at this point. It's phenomenal and I love it, and it makes me feel all of the warm fuzzies inside every single time I fucking read it, and I sometimes need the warm fuzzies. Question number 8, a book from a genre you don't typically read. For this one, I really struggled with this, so I'm kind of gonna go the subgenre route and talk about Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. This is book 1 in her Brutal Birthright series. I have read all of her Brutal Birthrights. I have read all of her Kingmakers. Since I finished the last book in the Kingmaker series, I have not one time reached for a mafia romance by another author. I don't see myself seeking out mafia romance, but I really did love this series. Question number 9 is a book that deserves all the hype it gets. For this one, I am absolutely going to have to go with Consider Me by Becca Mack. This one, I have mainly seen the hype over on Book Talk. It is very hyped up over in that neck of the woods. This is a hockey romance following Carter Beckett, who is kind of like the bad boy womanizer of the NHL. He's pretty much living his arrogant asshole life when he comes across seemingly the one woman who does not want to have sex with him. Carter Beckett is the epitome of golden retriever energy. He just exudes lovey-dovey squishiness, and I absolutely fucking love him. I want one for myself. Thank you. Question number 10 is a book you usually recommend when asked to give a recommendation. For this, I am absolutely going to have to go with the Stayus Bell series by Juliet Cross, the first book being Wolf Gone Wild. These books follow the Savoy sisters living in New Orleans. They are a paranormal romance. The Savoy sisters are witches. This first book follows Mateo Cruz, who is a werewolf. He has had some sort of hex put on him to where he cannot shift into his wolf, and his wolf is slowly driving him insane. So he decides to seek out one of the Savoy sisters, who is known to be like a hex breaker, which happens to be our heroine, Evie Savoy. Juliet Cross is one of those authors that I feel like are really accessible to a wide array of readers. Not only are her romances amazing, the spice is impeccable, her plots are phenomenal, but also within these books there is humor and banter and fun. All in all, I love this series and I would absolutely recommend it to just about anyone. Just about anyone. Maybe not my grandma, but just about anyone. Question number 11 is a book that has your favorite characters. For this, I'm gonna have to go with Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. This is the first book in the War of Lost Hearts series. In this story, we're following Tisana, who is pretty much like a performative slave. She makes like these butterflies and little illusions and things like that. When she finally gains her freedom, she makes her way to the Orders, who are a group of wielders that are not necessarily tied to any country or man. She hopes to join their ranks and somehow convince them to help her free the slaves that she left behind. This is a beautiful story. The main thing that I absolutely love about this series is that almost every single character in this trilogy I absolutely love. Even if they are evil, even if they make horrible decisions, they are so well written that you cannot help but feel some sort of emotion towards them. So for that, I am going to say that this series has my favorite characters in it. Question number 12, a book you wish you could live in. For this, I'm going to have to say the Fey Guardian series by Lana P. This series is a post-apocalyptic series in which women from our world, like our time, wake up one day 2,000 years in the future in a world that has completely changed. Fey now rule the world and humans are the enemy. Now, is this a violent series? Kind of. Is it sketchy for humans to be in? Yeah. Can you imagine going to sleep tonight and waking up 2,000 years later and there's just a flock of hot Fey men just walking the earth? I can't, but I think that would be great. So I'm gonna do that. Question number 13 is a book you thought you would hate, but ended up loving. For this one, I'm gonna have to go with Praise by Sarah Kate. This is book 1 in the Salacious Players Club. This is a ex-boyfriend's dad trope, which I didn't know if I was gonna be cool with. This has a lot of BDSM, dom sub type stuff, which I'm okay with normally, but it's not my favorite. I ended up really enjoying this this book. I'm not going to continue on with the series because I'm not sure about the rest of them, but I really, really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I genuinely thought that I was not going to like it, even though it had so much hype everywhere. Question number 14 is a book that made you cry. Unfortunately for me, I am a very emotional reader. I pretty much cry during the ending of every single book that I ever read, regardless of whether or not I love it or hate it. But I'm gonna have to say Hate Notes by Vi Keeland and Penelope Ward. I have a picture of myself after I finished this book. This is a workplace romance following our main character, Charlotte. She has just gotten out of a relationship with a cheating fiance. She ends up going to this consignment shop to sell her dress, and she finds this beautiful other gown that has a little blue piece of stationery in it with the most beautiful love poem she's ever read. She decides to go home and research this guy, finds out that he works for this bigwig realty firm, and she signs up to go to a viewing of this multi-million-dollar condo, and shenanigans ensue. Charlotte is hilarious. Charlotte is a quirky character. This is definitely a grumpy sunshine. I was a goner that night. I woke up with huge eyes. And the last question, question 15, a book you wish you could read for the first time. There's only one that I genuinely wish that I could read for the first time again, and it has to be Akamath. I had never read a sequel where the author was able to completely change my mind about a character before I read this book. This series got me back into reading. I just remember having a fucking fit over this book, and I really wish I could go back and read this book for the first time and just experience those emotions for the first time again. So that was the book recommendations tag. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you have not already. I hope you have a fantastic day. I will see you next time.